What?
Yeah.
Grab this.
Okay.
This might be easier, and the flex goes on inches, and
Yeah.
then those are off like millimeters. It's the same thing.
Okay. All right. Great. Oh, that's right. We're gonna try the audio today. Let's see. Just gonna switch up this camera right quick. Actually, can I? No, I'm
How
not
do you
sure.
go live on both?
So one camera, so YouTube's already live because I had to start it. Just seeing about a microphone because we had some audio issues with the YouTube one. Just hang it. It's a horrible idea. Look at that. So just now. Let's see. I have to switch where that goes. That's not gonna work. That's funny that that's right there. Especially because that's in the middle. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I guess at this time you could talk about what
Are we live somewhere?
we are
Where are we
live.
live at?
We're live on YouTube.
Hello, YouTubers. Welcome to Complete Strength. We're gonna do some cool stuff today. We're gonna talk about some bench press, and we're gonna talk about some knee pain. Two very, very popular topics, it seems, as always. Knee pain, issues with IT band and things like that. We're gonna avoid the IT band today and go the other direction. Maybe explain why that could be a better direction. Some good knee self-care regardless. So if you've had achy knees and haven't got to the bottom of it, hopefully you're already addressing your foot. It's very, very important to start with the foot. Hopefully you spent some time addressing your hip as well. There could still be some lingering issues in and around that knee, or soft tissue that we're going to address today around that knee. So stay tuned. Hopefully we can give you some help.
Thank you for your patience as I'm setting up the camera here. All right, we're gonna go live on
Insta?
On Insta. Be a little easier to set up.
How long have you been live on YouTube?
About 6 minutes.
No, for how many days?
Oh, this is the third time.
Has it been helpful?
Yeah, it definitely, like, if you can open up on your phone the YouTube app and then check into the live, then we can read questions off of that. Because, like, they'll pop up on here, but it's difficult because it disappears. All right. Say title. What are we calling this again?
I don't know. Which part? The knee?
Yeah, knee soft tissue, right?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
And what's the next part?
Scientifically don't sink. I don't know what you came up with.
Yeah, that's right.
Sounded good.
Scientific anti-sync.
Yep.
I'm sure that I'll get some questions. Anti-sync. Okay. We're live on IG. I just gotta get suited up, and then we'll be good.
Can you fit one more phone?
I might.
Because I think you could. I think we could go out the other side. Go this way.
Definitely is a possibility.
Take a picture of this.
Do you? Okay.
Hello, Instagram world. Welcome to Kabuki Strength Studios. If you've been missing me, that's because I've been on the road. Been some places, some cool meets. I'm sure most of you that follow us have seen the amazing results that the team put up in California at the USPA meet. And right prior to that, we had a really cool Kabuki-sponsored USPA meet from Doug Nostrand out in, wherever we were, Pennsylvania it was. Cool meet on Halloween. So some exciting stuff. We're usually on the road quite a bit more, but this year, obvious reasons, that stopped us and is halting some of our road trips. But we'll probably get out there and hopefully see some of you guys soon in the future, let you know where we're going to be at. So if we're in your area, you can stop by and check us out at a booth, at a meet or trade show, wherever we're at. I'm going to try to figure out how to use YouTube on my phone. Guys, bear with me here. And then we're going to teach some stuff.
All right.
I am on YouTube. We're looking for a Kabuki channel.
Yep. It should say that we're live on there.
Live. There's me looking at my phone.
All right. So yeah, you can see questions come in there. Oh.
Awesome delay.
Ready for the first one?
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I should probably
Turn on some lights.
turn on some lights.
Talking about the knee first, right?
Yeah.
We know what we're doing, everybody, I promise. We've done this before.
And then kill the overhead.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Ready?
Let's do it.
In 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, we're going to talk about lingering knee pain and why it might not be coming from your IT band. Now, I have to proceed this with, hopefully, if you've been dealing with any knee issues, you've addressed your foot, and then you jumped up and looked at your hip. And we should probably make sure our breathing and bracing alignment's there, putting us into a good position when we squat and deadlift, allowing those two structures to work. But if you're still stuck with some lingering knee pain or possibly some musculature just not optimally firing, well, let's take a look at that. A lot of people spend so much time addressing this big band, the IT band. We know it's a big, strong piece of connective tissue. It's kind of hard to get any relief from that on soft tissue work. So more important, we address vastus lateralis, this big sweep right here. I've talked before, I think sometimes our body's kind of a flawed design, but hey, I didn't build it, I just got to work with it. A good example of that would be this muscle here, vastus medialis, right? That teardrop muscle. It's not too big compared to the rest of the quads. We do a lot of work here and here. Sometimes this one gets missed. Why is that important? Well, if we look at the kneecap, we have all this musculature pulling up on the kneecap, and a lot over here, this is actually this leg, so a lot over here pulling this way. To find balance of the kneecap, there's only this vastus medialis pulling back this way. It can be overused and under a little bit of pressure sometimes. So when we look at the kneecap, we also have to address, we won't get into it today, but notice when you relax your quad, where does your kneecap go? Some people is this way, this way, this way. There's also a rotational factor that comes into play. Not purpose for this argument, just be aware of it. So when we get into some soft tissue work, first, I'll jump in there with the active mobility ball. I usually do this on the ground, but we'll do it off of a bench to highlight it a little bit better. There's not a lot of tissue here, so I can get into that pretty easy. If I want extra weight, I'll put some down pressure here. It doesn't take much. I'm gonna get a couple reps, quad extension, hamstring curl, and then I can get a little bit of a windshield wiper action, giving some cross fiber friction to that musculature. If I'm using the boomstick, pain pill, geisha, whatever the case may be, I'm gonna come right into that soft tissue here. My kneecap's way over here, so I can safely and effectively roll all the way up, pretty much all the way around that teardrop shape. I'm gonna get in here, give it some extra love. See that knurling, where I can get in a little bit deeper, and then start to work flexion, extension again. Now, a lot of times adductors come into play with this dysfunction and this muscular pain as well. So keep in mind the adductor group coming right down here, attaching as well. So it's worth your time to just check in right where that teardrop muscle finishes off, right into the adductors where those two would share a fascial connection, if you will. Same thing here, getting a little quad extension, hamstring curl. We can get some good cross fiber friction in here, and then some anterior and posterior tilts with the pelvis. If you're struggling with knee pain, knee imbalance, if you tie this off, or add this in with some TKE squats, a band around the knee pulling backwards, either through a full motion squat or just that end range extension, I bet you're gonna find a big benefit to how well that balance fires from left to right. So if you're spending all of your time addressing the lateral quad and you haven't jumped into that medial portion, please do so and go improve your squat. 347.
Oh, I missed. I didn't look when I hit stop. See, if I don't, then I can't see it. I have to go to the very end. Let's see. Would you say 347?
Yep.
Let's see. 2. Wow. It's close. 355.
Not bad, cool. So they would just pop up here if you're anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, Instagram world, YouTube world, what questions do we have on that awesome little teardrop muscle, vastus medialis?
A unrelated question just showed up on YouTube. If you want to wait for one about this first. Someone said, so if the kneecap is pulling towards the VM, then this mobilization is appropriate? Question.
As long as you don't do that to your knee, yes. Without an assessment tool, it can be pretty hard to tell where it's actually going. So my kneecaps kind of appear this way and they relax this way. but I'm really turned out from a lot of wide sumo work. So I wouldn't get too in depth in the details of is it appropriate for which way it's turning. Remember, if in doubt, take care of both sides. A lot of people, like I said, spend a ton of time over here and we neglect the inside. You might find it a lot more sore than you think. So whether you're pointed inside or outside, I would say it's appropriate because we're looking for optimal function of that musculature, giving it some relief, giving it some recovery. Now, if you do know that it's pointed out, we probably don't want to relax this a ton. Doesn't mean we shouldn't touch it. So 2 to 1 is my magic rule when working out imbalances. For simplicity, I would go 1 minute here, 2 minutes here, right? Or 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Helps kind of restore general health and recovery, if you will, but also attempting to start to correct those imbalances from a soft tissue standpoint.
Let's take one from the Instagram. We have a question. It is, any tips for painful adductor at the attachment near the groin, specifically on one side? Shin box get up, 90/90s, hip airplane haven't shown much improvement, sadly.
Yep, so the hip slide we covered the other day, it's on kabuki.ms as well. The hip slide can be very, very powerful. And then getting in there with whatever soft tissue work you have. And you can go obviously right all the way up to the pelvis. You can go pretty high on there. Anterior, posterior pelvic tilts, while pressure's on the musculature. You can abduct and adduct a little bit. Obviously, if I have weight on here, it's only gonna come up a little bit and I can only press so far into the ground. All I need is the musculature to fire. And last but not least, don't forget that magic floss. It works really, really well. That should start to get some relief. Then I would highly suggest checking out imbalances left to right with the Copenhagen adduction drills. Plenty of those we post on as well, all the way from regressions to advanced progressions.
I'm going to phrase this one as a question. Would you want to speak to the correlation between TFL and VMO? It's a bit off subject, but it plays into VMO function.
Ask that again.
Correlation between TFL and VMO because it plays into VMO function?
Yes, for sure. Without a more specific question, I'm not sure what you're after, but yes, 100%. We find a lot of dysfunction through hip flexors in general, causing dysfunction down the line. TFL, glute med, anything that's going to pull an anterior tilt this way, and then a difference in a shear anterior tilt, one of the things we really like to look at. Anterior tilt's one thing, but an imbalanced anterior tilt is another. So if we're here and then we're further off, you can see directly what that's going to do to my knee, not even the VMO. And then this has to try to pull back. So tracking is going to be all kinds of off. And again, we're looking at, most of us are anteriorly tilted, but then there's usually an imbalance between the anterior tilt. One is going to be tighter. That can also lead into the adductor question. You can see where that starts to pull me this way and this way. Now, if I'm really good at squatting, I'm going to try to pull that back when I squat. But there's a lot of different stuff going on. Muscles screaming for attention, trying to keep everything balanced out. That's why if you guys are fairly new to any soft tissue recovery work, I really encourage you not to just spend time where it hurts. At our advanced athlete prep this weekend at seminar, there's a pretty good section in there on soft tissue, instrument assisted mobilization, all the tools that we cover. If we have painful compensation here, that doesn't mean it's the only problem. It's just letting you know there's a problem because there's pain. I should probably check things downstream and upstream. Should probably check the other side as well. You'll find out a lot about your body. And even if it's not the direct problem, a little extra recovery over there is not going to hurt anybody. So, I'll warm up my shoulders to bench shortly here.
Okay. While you're doing that, I saw a question come up on the YouTube. Let's see. Some basic VMO exercises to improve the knee strength.
Yeah, number one, I have to go back to our principles rooting. Most people have dysfunction in the quads and in the legs because their foot's just not doing a good job planting on the floor and staying on the floor, which leads to problems tracking here and here. So we have to check our foot off first. It's really hard, in my opinion, to get a different part of your quad to fire. I know people have different opinions on that, but it's like a rotator cuff muscle. I don't know how you actually isolate that, because delt, pec, lat, other things are going to come into play. Point being, I don't know how to do a quad extension or a squat while turning this off and only activating that. If you guys have a solution for me, send it to me. I would love to hear about it. We've talked before about whether a muscle is actually turned off or not firing. There's an argument there we won't get into today, but really what I like to talk about is dysfunction. Maybe it's not working optimally. Again, maybe that's coming from the foot. One of my all-time favorite exercises to do is a banded TKE. Again, band tied off on the rack, either just working steps and that mind muscle connection. Poke it, squeeze that part of the leg, make sure that the musculature is firing. Sometimes it takes a little bit of soft tissue work to get it to turn on and do its job. Other than that, cross-body or cross-legged TKAs as well, so actually squatting up bands, setting up bands, in the squat rack this way, pulling opposite directions, cueing some external rotation, and then as I finish the squat, lightly but loaded, I have to find knee extension. Can work really, really well for any one of the major muscle groups that's not firing.
Cool.
Let's talk some bench press, guys.
Okay.
Give me a minute before we go live.
Another person about the volume too low. Yeah, we're working on a solution. It's something to do with the YouTube app, and well, the front mic being on, even though using the even though using the rear camera, it still wants to use the front mic. So we're working on a solution. Hopefully by tomorrow we'll figure something out. Okay, on IG really quick here. You want to take another question before you start? Okay. I had a bad motorcycle wreck 4 years ago. Just started powerlifting style workouts this summer. Should I focus on single leg movements since I am very imbalanced? I'm getting stronger but can't hit depth.
Yes and no. That's always a hard question to ask, or to answer, I would say most important that's where your training blocks are at. And your goals. If your goal is to hit a powerlifting meet in 2 months, may or may not be the smartest idea. It doesn't matter to me if that's your goal. You need to have a fair amount of specificity to do well at the meet. Let's not worry about depth in this conversation and just talk the imbalance from the knee. So there's always a point in time for it, right? The closer we get to competition, testing, peaking a max, the more of that needs to drop off. It doesn't mean you have to take it completely out if you're continuing to work through imbalances, but priorities have to shift. If you're just getting started and don't have any hard goals, yes, you should be in a general preparation block, and that should be one of your main goals to increase mobility and mechanics so you can hit depth, as well as making sure those imbalances are worked out left to right. So when you then build the top of that triangle and start to go up towards testing, peaking, competition, having fun in your own garage gym, whatever it is you're doing for your goals, that you're very well rounded and you've built a safe base so you don't break yourself further. 2 inches. 2 inches.
All right. Ready when you are. Okay. I might get a little lower here.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. In 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, Coach Kyle coming at you talking about why you may not want to sink your bench press. So I had a great conversation with one of my buddies in San Diego right after the powerlifting meet, nationals that we were just at, national championships. And something we talked about, a lot of times I've had athletes who have a really bad sink. Now there's some world champion bench pressers who get away with that and do pretty well. I would argue they'll probably bench press more weight if they can reduce their range of motion and keep that bar from sinking. The problem is, as a young athlete or a seasoned athlete that may not have their leverages and mechanics, if we try to match that, we're doing a lot of problems with our shoulder, asking for issues. We've talked extensively about that. Coach Brandon and I just did a video here that prompted this conversation about the head coming up off the bench. So in discussion, it was really cool to see the actual measurement come through on a velocity device. We were using it there in San Diego, and we got to see what really happens. I've always said it's about a 2-board, right? 2-board, shoulder saver pad. We have about 2 inches. For people that sink, if they put a shoulder saver pad or a 2-board press down, I can guarantee most of them, not everybody, but most people will press more weight. Now I still might sink into those boards, but the range of motion is higher. Let's say for sake of the argument, it's 40 pounds. If you can press 40 more pounds to a 2-board, if you're sinking a 2-board down, if we could take away that board and increase your strength over time, you will probably increase about 40 pounds. Now it's not that easy because if you're not strong in that position, you're not going to be able to press your optimal strength. So it's something you're gonna have to build up with pauses, sputtos, tempos, all that good stuff. Let's measure range of motion today if I sink or if I stay tall. I'll do my best to grab the exact same spot on the bar, so I have middle finger on the rings. Staying full, just getting to a touch, not allowing it to sink in or change my mechanics. And the velocity device says 29.67 millimeters and 32 millimeters. Some of that could be from the difference in my lockout. So 29, 32, we'll call that as our average. Now if I sink the bar, same setup, middle finger on the rings, see what the velocity device says. 39.46 and 40.46. So if we go off our lowest ones, 39 centimeters and 29 centimeters. We're looking at, I don't have a centimeter tape measure here in front of me. A difference of almost 4 inches. We're looking at 3.9 inches. So let's even cut that down and say 3.5 inches. You're literally looking at over a 2-board press. I increased my range of motion by over an inch more than this shoulder saver pad. That is more than the extra range of motion in a Duffalo bar. So you may feel stronger there, but just measure it out. Check it out and see for yourself. Is that extra range of motion getting enough momentum to help me in my press? Or am I just pressing extra deep and I really don't need that range of motion, let alone the risk on my shoulders? Go fix your bench press.
And the risk of getting called for heaving, right?
I figured just edit that out in the video.
Oh, getting the...
Yeah, just show it with my...
Oh, yeah. We'll edit it out.
Questions on bench press, guys? It's really cool to see this live. Everybody may not have a velocity device, but if you have a training partner, literally take a tape measure, have them hold the bottom of their bench at their top place, and then have them sink it and see how far down you or your training partner sinks it. And then you can do the opposite test. Go put on a shoulder saver pad. Press to a 2-board. See how much more weight you can load on the barbell. If it's significant, go fix that problem. It'll take a little bit of work to get strong in that new position, way up here versus down here, but I promise better results and safer shoulders.
Okay, got a couple questions on Instagram. So start there. If bench pressing typically fails about 2 to 4 inches off the chest without sinking, without seeing my form, what would that indicate?
Yeah, you hit it on the head without seeing form. Usually what we look at is, before we look at positional strength or specific muscle groups, there's 2 key parts there. A, the bench press width. If you're a close grip bencher, that's going to be a very close grip. That's going to be affected differently than a wide grip a few inches off your chest. But most importantly, we have to make sure the setup is good. You guys know I'm a big fan of setup. A solid setup and getting the barbell to your chest is more important to me than where it fails at. So if those things are locked in, then we can look at special exercises or secondary movements to increase that. Tempo work would be one of the first places I would take you, because I like most people to go directly to tempo work. It's going to help them with their time under tension, their ability to grind, if you will, move slower weights, and helps fine-tune technique. 3 to 4 inches off the chest would probably look at increasing some tricep strength, but it would also be specific tricep strength. So long pauses, pin presses slightly below that range of motion is probably where I would take you next.
You want to check YouTube? I think I might have missed one there.
You got the kneecap one, BMO, volume.
I know there's some unrelated questions, but I do have one about velocity over here if you want.
So for YouTube, if you're still on cam, would recommend looking at, since we did some soft tissue today, looking at lower leg part 1, 2, and 3 on our Instagram. It's on my Instagram. I don't post that much, so it's easier to find on there. There's a lot of good mobility, stretches, and soft tissue work for ankle issues and the foot. It's actually foot pain part 1, 2, and 3, but it addresses from the knee down. That will help you a ton.
One from over here. Do you have any experience with the Rep 1 velocity device? I looked into Vitruve, but they are phasing out support for Android devices.
Yeah, we've worked with every one. I was going to show the Flex device today. I like the app on it. It shows range of motion in inches, which is awesome for me. But everything from the GymAware unit to Flex to every device has been sent to us, and we've tried pretty much everything out there. There's some pluses and minuses to each. Most things are pretty good. I don't like the apps. And I don't like things that force me to use an app, because I would rather have on-the-fly data. I like to keep my phone off and distractions off when I'm lifting. So we've had clients use it, and we've used it with some pretty good results. If the limiting factor is software for you, though, it's always going to be a hang-up, and it's going to be a challenge.
Nice. Any other questions on YouTube? Or because I got like 3 over here on Instagram.
As far as YouTube question on surgery, torn medial meniscus, next Wednesday, good luck. Hit us up. You can always book a consultation call. That's true for a lot of you guys. We get some really great questions. Post-surgery, once you get back to training, rehab, things like that. Those can be hard to answer in a short amount of time without goals and other things. Remember, you can book a strategy call with us at any point in time. We would love to help you out with future recommendations on training, equipment, seminars, all that great stuff that we have to offer.
How to get effective quad training around chondromalacia patella?
Yeah, eccentric. Eccentric is my favorite work for a lot of different patellar issues. The strap might help. The patellar strap might help a little bit at first. I would rather see floss and soft tissue work, but it can help alleviate pain and pressure, and thus more inflammation and micro tearing for a lot of people. So if you want to go that route, go ahead. But it's just like any other, foot support or back brace or things like that. We want to get away from it as soon as possible. A lot of research showing that there's really good benefits to eccentrically loading. It sucks and it's going to hurt at first, but it will definitely help with a lot of patellar femoral pain issues as well. So light as you need to be, 4 count eccentric, sets of 8 would be a good place to start, even if that's a barbell or a kettlebell.
This one here from the guy with the motorcycle accident. He said, thanks for answering. I don't have any plans to do a powerlifting competition. I just want to be strong. Are there some specific single leg movements after a broken patella and femur and a dislocated hip?
Really think about your goals. So if you're only powerlifting, we move in this direction, right? We don't have a lot of lateral movements. That doesn't mean you shouldn't add those in. So single leg flexion extension. That can be a band curl, extension, split squats we're really big fans of. Elevate front foot, elevate back foot, overhead split squats. That gives you a ton of variations right there. Lunges are fine too. I like split squats for a little more controlled movement. It's easier to keep the torso in a squatting position than to heave forward, as a lot of people do with walking lunges. And then add some lateral work in. Copenhagen adductions, your lateral lunges, any kind of sled pushes and pulls would be really, really good for you as well. A lot of people neglect sled pushing and pulling as a single leg exercise. Now, it may not carry over to a huge squat depending on who you talk to. I know a lot of the conjugate guys are really big on sled pushing and pulling. And I've had really good results for myself and fighters and powerlifters, athletes, strongmen as well. Literally we walk around all day on one leg each, right? We go up and down stairs. It's a lot of one-legged exercise. Well, squatting doesn't really load a one-legged exercise. So particularly for post-injury for a lot of people, think about how do we load that? A weighted vest? Sure, maybe. Farmer walk? Sure, maybe. But that sled gets neglected. Load that bad boy up heavy. Push it across the parking lot or down your street. Don't forget to pull it as well. Really, really good results from that.
I remember you mentioned you had a 2 o'clock.
I'm ready to shut her down.
Yeah, because it's 2 right now.
Any last questions?
Yeah, there's still quite a few, but
Take one more. One more
take
question,
one more,
guys.
okay.
And then we're going to jump off.
All right. And actually, just as a note for all the listeners, like you can, on Instagram, if you do use the question function, that does make it easier for us to keep track of the questions, and then we can pull it up so that everyone sees what you're asking. Like for right now, this one that's on the screen.
I won't, on that same note, I won't tell you to blow up my boss's Instagram because he won't like it. However, anytime I'm in video, guys, if you have questions that don't get answered, shoot me an Instagram message. It might be a little while before I get back to you. You can shoot me an email, book a strategy call. We may not be able to get to everybody, but we want to be able to help as a resource. So me personally, definitely, if you ever need me up, let me know how I can help.
All right. I have cramps in my back while doing heavy bench press equipped.
Yep.
Any tips?
Been there for sure. Look at your bench press arch. Make sure it's a good global arch. We have the extra mechanics of the shirt. I used to be a geared lifter. We have the extra load as well. So you're compressing your spine and trying to push with leg drive with more weight than a normal press. You might even be coming into that more fatigued depending on when your last squat and deadlift was in a suit as well. So if it's causing a problem, you have to make sure that your bench press is set up in your training week where you can press effectively and you're not coming into it with too much fatigue. Second step, make sure that you are arching globally and it's not a really big lumbar arch. Most of us don't have a big T-spine arch, but make sure it's a good global arch where you can pressurize and create good tension through the legs into the barbell. Most of us don't need a smaller arch, so I'm never going to tell a geared lifter to arch less, but remember you do have fabric there, right? The more that bar comes down, the more it's going to compress. So if your limiting factor is how bad your erectors are cramping and you can't produce a bench, you might be able to arch just a little less hard and have a bigger bench come out of it. So bracing mechanics, good global arch, hit a big bench press for us. Yeah. All right, guys, thank you for your time. We will see you same place, same time tomorrow.
All right. Sweet.
So the exercise index reels, are we still doing those?
We're working on like guided tutorials right now.
So
is what we're gonna do. So yeah, we're just gonna make one of the videos that we film into a reel, and then the other one will just be on KMS. Or at least that's the idea right now. We shall see. And I'm still live on YouTube. All right.
Oh, we have a Kyle.
We have a Kyle?